Hey friends, the producers tell me that we have some new questions. Question number 1, it says this one's coming from you, Ali, behind the camera.
It is, it's me. Have you ever lost a deal where you were certain you were going to win?
I feel like I'm going to sound big time if I say this, but no. And it's not because I think I'm brilliant or anything like that. It's actually because I think, as most salespeople are, very paranoid, especially about opportunities. And so I've never ever felt certain I'm going to win any deal. Even deals that I've won, I don't think I've ever felt certain. So that I don't think is a thing. And then the other thing I'd say, since I've had MEDDIC in my life, I've been much more confident about where I stand. And something we always say is that salespeople should never lose an opportunity. You should always qualify out. And what I mean by that is, where we are losing, if we're qualifying correctly, we should know that we're losing, and therefore it should surface to us are we losing because we've not found enough value, and it's relating to the pain, relating to the metrics, perhaps we've not differentiated enough into the decision criteria, or is it a stakeholder thing? We haven't got access to the right people, the right influence, or is it just that, process, the customer's just not in a position to move forward? MEDDIC obviously keeps you on your front foot with all of those things. So, if you're losing, as it were, you can either, double down and try and fix those things, or save your time, qualify out, come back to the customer when they're in a better position to work with you. So no, I've never felt certain about any deal, and I've definitely not felt certain I was going to win a deal and lost it. Okay, question number 2, it says there's a voice note from producer Nick. So I'm going to hit play here.
Hey Andy, here's a question we've had through on LinkedIn. So we say that good salespeople influence and inspire the customer's decision criteria to their strengths, but does that potentially cause a moral issue? Let me know your thoughts.
I remember this question. I had this one a couple of weeks ago, and this comes from a place where the salesperson was hearing that we say that decision criteria is best applied proactively, and the idea is that customers don't have strong decision criteria. They're either doing it from their own research or from an analyst, or worst case scenario, they're getting it from your competition. And so our view is use decision criteria proactively as the framework to go and inspire the customer to see the world the same way you do, right? Because the solution you're selling, you should believe is the best for that customer, full stop. You shouldn't be selling a solution that you don't believe is the best for the customer, either at the micro level where it's for that particular customer in their particular circumstance. If you're engaging and through your discovery, through your work with the customer, you figure out actually that, I love our solution, but it's not the one that's right for you right now, then you shouldn't be continuing to try to sell to that customer, because it's, you're coming from, you're fighting a losing battle. So yeah, that would be immoral if you were continuing to try and inspire the decision criteria away from what is best for the customer. But we would never say that. This is all, you should never ever be selling a solution that you don't think is best for the customer. So that's the micro level. At a macro level, if you don't believe the solution you're selling is the best value solution for the market, then you're in the wrong role. You have to be passionate to truly believe, and to be a great salesperson, you have to believe in your product. And so if you haven't got that, there's no amount of inspiring the decision criteria that's going to make you successful, because you're always going to be, trying to sell the second best product at best, probably third, fourth, fifth, something like that. And yeah, if you're trying to persuade customers that your solution is the best and it's not the best, that's immoral. But what we're talking about is about going forward with what we think is the best solution for the customer, and inspiring based on our expertise, our opinion, and proof that we've seen with our customers. Question number 3. This one's back to you, producer Ali.
So this is a question from Devon. My team uses a success plan template that's aligned with the decision criteria, and I think we can refine it further based on some of the takeaways from the DC section of the MEDDIC Masterclass. From your experience, what have you seen drive the most impact in other customer success teams when it comes to the decision criteria?
Ooh. Good question, Devin. I like this one. Yes, decision criteria is when it gets to customer success. Typically, that means that we've won a new customer or expanded our relationship with the existing customer, and therefore the decision criteria has become almost like the specification of the solution that we're delivering. So building it into handover documents, all that kind of thing is tremendous, because quite often, as is the case, there's many ways to deliver the use cases in your solution. And it also is going to tell the customer success team what was important to the customer, what things really stood out that helped us to win this customer, and what was important to them, not just from a technical perspective, but from a relationship and economical perspective as well. So carrying the decision criteria across and really sort of help making that part of the handover where the salesperson tells the story about what things were there from the beginning, which things we inspired into the decision criteria, which things were perhaps where we were we had to kind of really challenge the customer. That was going to be a value to them. So that really is going to enrich that handover, going to hit the ground running with a new relationship with the customer. So all good. But one thing I'll say here, I'll take this a step further, is in the MEDDIC value framework, which of course is a value framework that empowers the entire go-to-market team across the entire customer lifecycle to embed MEDDIC as a common language to talk value with your customers. We have the M1, which is about positioning value, to M2, which is the selling value, through to the M3, which is about delivering value. So in that process of going from positioning, selling to then delivering, you're going to get much more than just the decision criteria. And M3 is basically the encapsulation of what pain you're solving with a particular use case, what value we've promised by solving that pain, and how we're going to do it with decision criteria. So even better than carrying across decision criteria into those handover documents, we would implore you to embed MEDDIC value and therefore capture all of those beautiful use cases full of value that you've promised the customer into M3s, and then start to unpack those with the customer. What will probably happen, as is often the case, is in the sales process, we've sold maybe, let's say, 10 use cases, which are by this point M2s, where we've kind of personalized that value to the customer. And then by the time we actually get to going live, not only are those 10 maybe not important anymore, there may be a few that have become less important, and so we're prioritizing a smaller amount for implementation, but there may even also be some new use cases that come in as well. So the M3 is a great way, I think, of with this level up you're looking to get, Devon, of how you can do that. And if you folks haven't implemented MEDDIC value yet, we should get in touch. The team will be, I'm sure, delighted to help you get started with that. Okay, question number 4 is a question from the CRO at Mike Release, Mike Blackburn. Good to see you, Mike.
Hey, Andy. I have a question for you. We're in the early stages of our MEDDIC journey, and our team are learning it's much easier to apply the principles of MEDDIC and do the heavy lifting early to newly created pipe opportunities than it is to retrofit the thinking into older active deals. We know there aren't any shortcuts to success. However, do you have any pearls of wisdom you can share?
I don't know about pearls of wisdom, Mike, but this is a great question, and something we see a lot, which is, like you say, when you applying a new methodology, a new common language to new opportunities, it's much easier to sort of approach them when you've got sort of a fresh interaction. But those existing opportunities that are already live pre-implementation of MEDDIC, they can be harder. And so my advice here is to use the 3 whys, which of course is the first one being why change, the second one being why you, the third one being why now. And the reason why they're so useful is because what you want to make sure is you've colored off each of those questions before you start to think about doing anything else. So the first one, and it's first for good reason, of why change, when you look at those opportunities, how confident do you feel that your champion or the main stakeholders inside of that business are able to answer that question around why they should change? Not necessarily about your solution, but why they should change to a solution like yours. Because only once you feel confident about that, about the pain that you have implicated there and the value from doing it, only then can you then start to think about, well, why they should choose, in this case, Mike Release, why they should choose you. Because it doesn't matter how great they think you are, if they haven't been convinced as why they should change, doesn't matter. So then you can get into the why you. But the why change bit is really about pain, is about making sure you implicate and quantify that pain. And then the why you bit is where the decision process and decision criteria start to come in. You want to make sure you can stand out, your differentiation, the value you found in the why change is set up to be unique to you. Your differentiators are built into the customer's mind of, if we're going to do this, this is the only way to do it. Likewise, decision process comes in at this stage because you want to be helping that customer on their journey, on that roadmap from going from, not changing to changing. So it's really important you think about the 2D elements in that regard. And then, once you've got those completely locked in, you feel confident the customer sees why they should change, why they should change with you, then you can move on to the why now. And that does tie back to the why change, because what you should have done, if you've done a good job in implicating pain, is build in time-based value to it. So the customer can see not only is this is the implications of not changing, but they know every day, every week, every month that goes by without that change, what those implications are. So that will drive the urgency as to why they should change now. So if you look at it through that lens, I think it's going to help you a lot to be able to figure out what you should be doing with each of those opportunities and applying those MEDDIC elements appropriately to existing opportunities. Question number 5. This one's back to you, producer Ali.
So this is a question from Hector. What is the most important thing when doing deal reviews? I want to implement this with a MEDDIC mindset, but it isn't a common practice where I work.
Okay, good question, Hector. The answer you're looking for comes from trust. Trust is the most important thing you have to have in your sales team to make any kind of deal review or anything around MEDDIC work. Because if you don't have the trust of your team and the team don't trust you and you don't trust them, then deal reviews are going to be ineffective, because people keep the bad stuff, the gaps in the opportunities too close. They don't want to surface them up because they don't feel that they're trusted to be doing a good job. They feel like it's going to be used against them and all this sort of bad stuff that happens. So it's critical, absolutely critical, that trust is throughout your team. And the best way of doing that as a leader is just to be right there in the trenches with your team. When they find gaps, when they come to you and say, look, I've got this great opportunity, but this person I'm working with, I just don't think they're a champion. You need to say great work. That is good work, because that is good selling. Great salespeople, they find their gaps in opportunities. So that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter what you do, no matter what tactics you have, how regular you have deal reviews, or how great everyone is at MEDDIC. If you haven't got the trust, it won't work. It will be ineffective. So that's the caveat. That's like the disclaimer, safe harbor statement out of the way. Invite the inputs from everyone in that room, because one of the beautiful things about deal reviews is typically in a sales team, you've got different flavors of experience, different flavors of character. So you might have someone that's got lots of deal experience, lots of craft, but it might have someone in the room that's a product expert, it might have someone that's in the room that's an industry expert. And getting all of those inputs, those perspectives can help to richer point of view. So I'd say create that kind of environment where people are sort of brainstorming. We call it deal storming as well. We even also changed the name recently to a deal trust, based off of how Pixar review their movies when they're coming up with movies. And so you can imagine the crossover there that we're kind of trying to bring in, of created environments, inviting inputs and opinions from all different places. So that's the thing there. If you're looking for something a little bit more sort of tactical, I always like to start with talking about the pain and then start reflecting how that impacts different stakeholders, so you can start to get a feel for how many stakeholders are we considering here. With a common mistake that people make is just to consider pain and the value of solving that pain to do the company wide, when we know pain is specific to stakeholders. So I always like to start with pain, but I'm always a little bit careful as well to be too prescriptive, because I don't think there's a best way to go through letter by letter. But if you start with pain, it can usually inspire the conversation to really start to understand how you can help the customer and the lay of the land of the opportunity. But love this question. Good luck out there, and let me know how it goes. 5 questions. If you want to ask a question, you know me on LinkedIn, reach out, ask the questions on LinkedIn. It's the fastest way to get onto the show. Or you can leave, if there's comments down there, somewhere down there, leave some comments below and we'll be sure to pick them up. Till the next time, may your champions be strong.